Hey, hey, hey!
Hi,
I'm Dr. Jamie,
and I'm Stephanie.
and we're with New Journey Chiropractic. And we wanted to thank you for taking the time to join our webinar. Tonight, we're going to be talking about how to build your immune system from the inside out. So, Stephanie, do you want to get us started tonight?
So, we just love teaching and sharing and educating our community on not only the benefits of chiropractic, but how living a healthier lifestyle can help you feel better, do better, and be a better version of yourself.
We all need that. And people always think that it starts with all of these changes. And one of the things that we like to teach people is just to make one simple change. And once you've mastered or perfected that one simple change, then you can start making other changes in their life. And so that's what we're going to teach you tonight. We don't want this to be an overwhelming experience. We want you just to take away a few key points on what you can do to improve your body's immune system, your family's immune system, and then just how to live a healthier lifestyle. So, who are we? We are New Journey Chiropractic. New Journey Chiropractic has been open now for almost 7 years.
Yay!
So we absolutely love being in the community of Ormond Beach. We love being able to teach people about health and wellness and teach people about chiropractic care. So tonight at this workshop, we are hoping that you'll take away key points, but some of the key points that we are going to be discussing tonight would be to discover how sugar affects your immune system, the connection between your microbiome and your gut health, and how to create a stronger immune system overall.
Because who doesn't want a stronger immune system?
I mean, I don't like being sick, but
How wouldn't it be awesome to get through this next few months not struggling with all of the chronic cold, flu, scratchy throat, just groggy, brain foggy feel? So grab a pen and paper. You may want to take notes.
And if you didn't grab a pen and paper, push pause now so you can grab some and you can take notes. So, what is our immune system? So, our immune system is the body's natural defense mechanism that responds to different foreign bodies, whether it be a bacteria, a virus, an infection, which then would also lead to an illness. So it's your body's immune response that recognizes these foreign bacteria or viruses that creates an infection or an illness in your body. And so what the immune system does is it protects your body from those bacteria by warding it off so you don't get sick. There are many factors that can hinder your immune response, which would lead you more susceptible to illness. We're going to teach you a couple of things that you can do to try to help your immune system be boosted. Some of the things that you can do to reduce your immune factors would be increasing the immune boosting techniques to help protect and defend the immune system. And so those are some of the key things that we're going to be going over tonight. People always think it's really difficult, but I can tell you it's just small, simple changes that you can do to your overall lifestyle that can help you overall. So we are going to start this tonight with a quiz. Everybody loves
Did
quiz,
you
right?
study?
I didn't. No kidding. All right. So the first question we're going to ask you is a fever good or bad? So what do you think? We're often taught that they're not good,
Nope. We need to treat them, right?
right?
And I know that it's funny because I always hear like, feed a fever, starve a cold, or starve a fever, feed a cold. Like nobody ever knows which one is correct because it was something that our grandparents used to say, but I don't remember. So I never knew what to do, but I was always taught, oh, if you have a fever, you should treat it.
Right. So we're going to answer this. So a fever is actually good. And a fever is good because it does a couple of things. The first thing is it is part of your body's defense mechanism, right? So we're going to teach you that symptoms in the body and things that your body does is it's your body's natural ability to ward off anything. So when we start talking about symptoms, typically, it's your body's like check engine light, or it's its warning system to tell you that something's going on. So when you get a fever, the fever is created so that it's designed so that your body temperature increases. When your body temperature increases, what it's doing is it's creating an environment that the bacteria can't live in. So I want you guys to think of your body as smart. Like it knows exactly what it needs to do at any given moment, at any given part of the day to allow you to survive and adapt to life. And so when your fever gets really high, your body has detected that that's where it needs to go to kill off those viruses or bacteria. So the higher the body temperature, this helps the immune system respond more effectively or vigorously to ward off that invader. And so the higher the body temperatures make it harder for this bacteria or virus to survive, which then ultimately will get rid of that infection faster. And then your body is able to heal and recover. Does that make sense? Like, do you have any
Yeah.
questions about that or anything to
No.
add?
When I learned this, it was like mind-blowing. Oh, my body's designed to heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
And if I get a fever, yes, you need to monitor it, but at the same token, let your body do what it was designed to do and keep you healthy.
Right. And so a low grade fever would be something around the 99.1 to 100.4. Like we don't feel good if we have a fever at all. So like this low grade fever um, is up to 100.4. In the hospital setting, we didn't actually start medicating until it was 100.5. So that would be a moderate grade fever. And this is up to 102.2. A high grade fever, 102.4 to 105.8. Obviously, those are getting really high. And some of the things that you can do to monitor that is to obviously take the temperature, but you want to make sure that you're getting enough fluids. So a lot of the times when fevers become dangerous, one, you can create a febrile seizure, but two, most people start to get dehydrated because their temperature is so elevated that they're not increasing their fluid intake either. So then we start to have other symptoms of that infection because of that dehydration.
Would you say that a lot of the reasons people hear brain damage is due to dehydration versus body temperature?
I would say I mean,
Yeah.
yes, the more that you're not taking care of your body is it's going to lead to other symptoms. But there's also been studies that show that antipyretics or fever reducers suppress the immune system. So I want you guys to think of this too from a different standpoint. When your fever is starting to elevate, again, we told you that it helps ward off bacteria. But what do you think you're doing if you develop a fever and you take something like Tylenol or something that reduces a fever? What is that doing to your body temperature? It's decreasing it
Yeah.
or it's lowering, but now what is going on in that environment or your body where that bacteria is? You're now allowing that bacteria to continue to multiply and divide and conquer instead of allowing your immune system to do that. So, I don't want you to take away saying, Dr. Jamie said don't ever take a fever reducer, but I want you to try to do some natural remedies first. Again, making sure that you're resting, you're increasing your fluid intake. You might not be hungry, and that's okay. Your body doesn't really need that right now. Um, but I want you to continue to monitor it. And if you get to a point where your gut's telling you to take something, that's fine. Um, but I want you to try to let your body do what it needs to do, because chances are, if you let that fever rise the way that your body's designed, it will lower it once that bacteria
Yeah.
has
And the
gone.
reason your body feels yucky when you have a fever is because it's demanding rest.
Mm-hmm.
You're not supposed to push through being sick.
Wait,
I'm
what?
not sure who needs to hear this, but please know that it's okay to rest when you don't feel well. You will get better quicker if you don't try to push through it every single time.
But wait, no, I'm kidding. So we're going to start discussing about the truth about your microbiome. And everybody wants to think like this is super complicated, and it can be, but we're going to teach you some things where it's not as difficult. So a lot of times, we think that our immune system is just kind of this imaginary defense. But I want to tell you that, immunity starts in your gut. So it's really important to make sure that you have a good microbiome in that gut, because the bacteria in your gut is good. And so we call that, is it microbiota or
Microbiota.
I don't know. The microbiota, it helps your body fight off defense. And actually, 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And so that microbiota communicates with your cells to attack pathogens and disease. And so it's really important to have that good flora in the gut so that it can make sure that your defense mechanisms are at their fullest potential. And one of the things that we have found is that hand sanitizer is often overused, especially since 2020 with COVID. Like, it's everywhere. And I'm not saying that you can't use hand sanitizer, but a lot of the things that are in it are toxic, not just killing the
Yeah.
bacteria, but it's kind of overused. Think about 20, 30 years ago. We're not going to go into this in big detail, but like, if my family found out a child had chicken pox, like, we had a chicken pox party so that way we could get it. We weren't
Yeah.
going in like pumping hand sanitizer. I feel like our immune systems were a lot better in previous decades
Yeah.
than they are now. And I think that there's a lot of different things that are causing it. I don't think it's just hand sanitizer. I think that we're exposed to more toxins. We're eating a lot differently than where we were. But going back to the gut, like, we want to make sure that our gut is at its fullest potential so that way we can ward off those symptoms.
Again, healing from the inside out.
Yeah. So things that are destroying the microbiome, it can be stress. We live in a really, really stressful time. It's not just the time, it's just like we have like schedules that are packed to the last second of every day. We I think the study said in the 1950s, if you were to put a person from 1950 into our schedule here in the 2020s, they would like have a mental breakdown in 7 minutes. Like, it's
Yeah.
that bad. Like, we've adapted over time, but I don't think like our bodies have adapted to those levels of stress. Or, we say we're used to it, but we're just constantly going. Other things that destroy the microbiome are going to be medications and sugar. One of the things that we like to talk about, because we're a family practice, is just teaching people how to rebuild their immune system and that gut. One of the things that we're seeing in infants and children is they're not getting a healthy start from the beginning. And I'm not saying that it's all C-section babies, but like, one key thing that we can talk about is during a C-section, if a child is born through the cesarean, they're missing a lot of the probiotic gulp, is what they would call it if a child would get it through the vaginal delivery. And so they're missing that good flora as they're passed from mom into the outside world. And so they're missing that good bacteria that starts getting that immune system going in the gut. The other thing that we're starting to see is that the antibiotic use in the first 3 years of life has increased significantly. Mothers are using antibiotics during their pregnancies. That's also passed down through or to the baby as the baby is growing. Antibiotics are given to a child. I won't say it's like candy, but it's becoming more and more used. Think about it. One of the primary things that a child would experience from birth to 3 years is an ear infection. And a lot of times it's viral anyway, but we're giving our children antibiotics to get rid of the ear infection, which, by the way, antibiotics are for bacteria, not
Yeah.
viruses. And so we're basically giving it to them for no reason and destroying that gut flora. We're also eating foods that have antibiotics in them. Think about the different animal products that you eat. If it's conventional, a lot of the times those animals aren't grown in or aren't raised in humane ways, and
Mhm.
so they get sick. They have higher levels of stress, they have higher levels of inflammation creates a disease state, allows their immune systems to be attacked, and then they get antibiotics. So whatever animal ate, we eat, we're getting the byproducts of that. We talked about hand sanitizers and antiseptics. I'll eventually be able to get things through. And then again, unnecessary antibiotics that disrupts the microbiome. And we always try to tell parents to make sure that they're doing their homework when they're talking to their providers about antibiotics, and making sure that it's 100% necessary for that child to get that antibiotic. Sometimes the watch and wait approach is better, but listen to the provider. If they feel like you need it, then um, obviously take it. We don't want some of the aftermath if they
Yeah.
don't have it. But if they do need to take it, then one of the first things that we typically recommend is making sure that you're restoring that natural flora. So putting them on cultured foods, putting them on a probiotic, giving them things to help rebuild that natural flora, so we can, you know, start building that immune system back. Foods that can damage the immune system is going to be things like sugar, things that create a higher inflammatory process in the body. The more sugar that you have, the more the bacteria can feed. The more the bacteria can feed, then we just kind of create this vicious cycle, and we're creating an environment
Yeah.
that is susceptible to that.
It's almost like creating a monster. Uh, all I think about is the Marshmallow Man in Ghostbusters. Like, he got so big. And if you think about it, like, and this is the time of year we're going into the holiday season. Welcome to sugar season, folks.
Mm-hmm.
Everything starting with Halloween, it's all about candy.
We call that the
Thanksgiving,
sugar holiday.
yeah. Thanksgiving, we've got tons of heavy foods.
That's the pie holiday.
Pie holiday. And then we've got Christmas and New Year's.
Christmas is the cookie
Yeah.
holiday.
And New Year's is the booze
Yes.
holiday, which we all know breaks down into sugar.
Correct.
And what else happens during the holiday season? We're rushed, we're more stressed, we've got more events to go to, late nights, early mornings, long days. So you're not sleeping as well. You might not be eating what you normally eat, and you're picking up a lot more sugar.
Mm-hmm. Some of the other foods that can destroy the microbiome would be fast food, packaged foods, foods that have hydrogenated oils, artificial sugars. Certain formulas in babies have also been found to increase intestinal permeability, which would be leaky gut, and this would be rice cereals that are introduced too early. These enzymes may not be available in that child's gut, and so it creates that leaky gut syndrome early on. And so there's things that we're doing unnecessarily. If we would just
Mhm.
wait or find better options, it would be better overall.
And don't feel bad if you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that, because a lot of us didn't know that. But if you've ever heard me say it, when you know better, you do better. So our goal is to just help you figure out the best things to do for you and your family. This is not coming from a, oh my gosh, never do this, but like, oh, these are some of the things we can do to make better choices.
Yeah, you have that control. So again, it's one simple change. And then once you master it, then
Yeah.
you can do better. So I talked about this earlier. 80% of your immune system um, arrives or originates in your gut. It's important to have healthy gut flora. We've talked about this a little bit over and over. So um, there you go. We always were taught too that the skin was the largest organ in the body. Now they're starting to say that the microbiome is considered the largest organ because of what it does and how it protects the body overall. We're going to talk a little bit about stress in the immune system. This is one of Stephanie's
Favorite things to talk about?
I think I like that word, but now I'm going to make her start saying that phrase, I guess. So, stress in the immune system. Stress creates a hormone called cortisol. Prolonged cortisol in your body paves the way for inflammation. And so when you have increased levels of inflammation, your body's immune system is suppressed, and then this decreases the ability to fight off invaders.
So what happens too when the body's inflamed, it automatically goes to a fight or flight state. So those of you that have been to the office and you've gone through the scans and we can measure to see if your body's in fight or flight. So neurology dictates our nervous system, our autonomic nervous system has two components: parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest, and sympathetic, which is your fight or flight. If your body's in a state of fight or flight and you are inflamed and you are stressed, producing high amounts of cortisol, healing is shut down, digestion is shut down, muscle repair is shut down because your brain doesn't realize that you're not being chased by a lion, that you're just under a large amount of stress. So, no matter what's going on in your body, whether it's just an inflammation from lack of sleep and a poor diet, then what happens is those symptoms turn into bigger symptoms. And then all of a sudden, it's like everything hurts. You don't feel good. You can't really pinpoint it, but you're never going to heal because your body is in such a state of like just urgency.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just shutting down every other source because it's sending all of this energy to your extremities because your brain thinks you're in trouble. So if you can start to reduce your stress, what happens when people get really stressed? They get really sick.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Immune
just
system
keeps
shut off.
coming.
Yeah.
So the immune system is not acting the way it should. And then now we're in defense and in fight or flight, which leads to freeze, which leads to breakdown.
And so, one of the things too is the public's just now beginning to understand what science has known for years, that there is a huge relationship between the immune system and overall health. And there's also another link that we need to create to connect, and it's the brain. And so we've all known that your brain has, which is can be related to mental stress, affects directly how your digestive system works. So think about it: if you're super stressed out, your digestive system may not be working effectively, so you can have more symptoms of constipation or even diarrhea. But what's more evident is that our gut impacts how our brain function as well. And so it's critically essential to understand that daily lifestyle choices can also affect how the brain functions and overall how it controls the every system in the body.
Yeah. Reducing stress is such a big piece of health. I think it's overlooked in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And so there's no secret that we live in an over-medicated society. Prescription drug use is rising among all ages, and that usage increases with age. 5 out of 6 people ages 65 and older are taking at least one prescription medication, and half of the elderly population takes three or more. Excuse me. Antibiotics can be a life-saving treatment for children with bacterial infections, but are most commonly prescribed therapies that are given among children in general. However, antibiotics can be used are also used as a result of adverse events such as drug toxicity, and it's really detrimental when we start talking about the gut flora. Like I hit this a few slides ago, but it's going to impact things longer than what we think. Like most people think that they take the antibiotic, it only affects their gut flora for that 2 weeks that they're on it
Mm-hmm.
or 1 week that they're on it. But in reality, when you take one prescription or one, like whatever your doctor prescribes you, it generally wipes out that gut flora for up to 6 months. So if you have, like, let's say your child has an ear infection, you take the antibiotic or you give your child the antibiotic, they take that medication, that gut is technically wiped out for 6 months. And then what do we typically see? Couple weeks
Yeah.
later, a couple months later, they get another ear
One ear to the
infection.
other.
Yes.
Runny nose.
Yep. So then what we get another antibiotic. So now we've got two, which we've basically wiped out the immune system for a year. And so again, I'm not saying don't take it, but you really need to start restoring things as
Sooner
it's
rather
happening.
than later.
Yeah. So we're going to ask another quiz question, I guess. Sugar in the immune system. So, does sugar hurt or does it help the immune system?
I feel like everybody knows the answer to this now.
It hurts the immune system. And how does it affect the immune system? So, we talked about it a little bit earlier. The higher levels of sugar that you intake are going to create inflammation. That inflammation doesn't allow the immune system to work. But the higher levels of sugar may harm the gut barrier and its function to drive out bacteria imbalances. It also triggers a protective immune response called inflammation, which we know that higher levels of inflammation is damaging over time. If you have inflammation, then your immune system is technically working harder. And when this happens, your immune system is basically already weakened, and it can be more difficult to fight off that infection. So as Stephanie said a little bit earlier, this is the sugar season. What we tend to see is we're seeing more colds, we're starting to see more incidences of COVID, we're starting to see more
Mhm.
incidences of the flu, or just general not feeling well. And we have to also look at like what's happening. So sugar is going to deplete
Yeah.
some of that.
And sugar pops up in a lot of places. In my coaching practice, a lot of my clients are like, oh, well, I like to go for sugar-free or fat-free options because we've been lied to. People, we have been lied to that sugar-free and fat-free are not better for you. Opting for, full fat items in dairy, like a full fat Greek yogurt has zero sugar in it,
Mhm.
loaded with protein. It's a better option for you
Than
than a sugar-free,
free or fat free.
fat-free
Hmm.
flavored yogurt.
Hmm.
So, if you're going to look at cultured foods, like read some labels and please, if anybody has questions, come in and ask us.
Hmm.
I promise we will talk your ear off, but we can also help you with resources that can show you ways to make some better food swaps just to help reduce. Like, I know a lot of people, the clients I work with, as they lose weight, they start to go, oh my gosh, I feel like brighter and more alert. We reduce the brain fog. We start to feel better, more energy,
Hmm.
less stiffness, less aches, less pains. And we don't realize that when we start getting rid of some of the unnecessary sugar, the difference our body feels is
Right.
life changing.
And you don't crave it as much.
Yeah.
So the less that you eat, the body kind of turns off those receptors. That's
Yeah.
another talk for another day. But there's lots of things that you can do to help minimize that. So we're going to talk a little bit about chiropractic because we are a chiropractic office, but we're going to talk about how that affects the immune system. So the expression of intelligence is through matter, and our bodies were designed with everything that it needs. So again, we always make it really complicated. We want it to be really hard, and it can be, but if you remember that your body was created perfect, it needs no medications, it needs no or interference, or we've got to remove that interference to allow the body to function to its fullest potential. And so when the body's not functioning to its fullest potential, this is where we start to see dysfunction, and dysfunction can lead to dis-ease or illnesses
Mhm.
or problems. And so we're going to go all the way back to pregnancy, and the pregnancy, or during pregnancy, the health of the mother's body begins to support your body's a natural intelligent design or innate intelligence. And so whatever's happening throughout that mom's pregnancy, it's going to affect how that child develops. And so there are lots and lots of research that we're not going to get into, but there are research that talks about mother's level of stress during her pregnancy, how that is passed on to that child. If mom is stuck in a fight or flight, baby is going to be more
Yeah.
wired for that fight or flight. Um, and we can get super nerdy with this. We're not going to do this today, but that's kind of like where I want you guys to think like everything is going to impact something down the road. And
Actually, it's a great time to mention that we're having our Birth and Beyond webinar in November. So
November 9th
yes, November 9th.
at 10:30.
If you want to know more about pregnancy and take that deeper dive, shoot us a message and let us know, and we will absolutely send you the link for that webinar.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Thanks, Stephanie. So the central nervous system controls and coordinates all the functions in your body. What we talk about in our office is subluxation. And so subluxation, if you don't know what that fancy term is it is an interference in the nervous system that doesn't allow the body to function to its fullest potential. As a chiropractor, we look back to the nervous system, find out where that subluxation is or where that interference is. We remove that subluxation or that interference through the chiropractic adjustment, which then allows the body to function as it was designed, but it also allows your body to heal. And so what we know is that if you're subluxated, your body has a lowered chance to fight off the bad bacteria because
Mhm.
again, the body's not performing to its fullest potential. When we start talking about the brain and the nervous system, there is a huge connection between the brain and the microbiome. And the way that it's connected is through the vagus nerve. Um, so the vagus nerve is one of the longest nerves in the body. And if you ever get out a diagram and take a look at it, it basically connects to everything. It starts at the base of the skull and it touches every system in the body. If you ever want to know, like the nerdy research is like just go look up vagus nerve and see what it affects. If someone's got pressure on that vagus nerve, like especially in a child, like
Yeah.
we start to see issues with colic, we start to see issues with constipation. Adults, if vagus nerve is affected, we start to see increased levels of stress, sleep disruptions, body stuck in that fight or flight. It can't really perform to its fullest potential. So how do you stimulate the vagus nerve for gut health? There are some things that you can do to help with that. One would be diaphragmatic breathing, just taking big, deep breaths in through the belly, not through the, like, you're going to breathe through the nose, but you want to make sure that as you're taking a deep breath in, belly's going to kind of expand. It's going to raise that diaphragm. And as
Mhm.
you breathe out, it's going to release. A good belly laugh, like what's the phrase, like laughter
Is
is
the
the
best
best
medicine.
medicine.
I
Um,
couldn't agree with that more.
so, that's going to affect the vagus nerve. Singing, like who loves to sing? I mean, it's changing that mental state too.
Wait, do I get to sing now?
Sure.
We won't do that. Just
um,
kidding.
Humming a tune, going through like doing yoga, practicing Tai Chi, and even taking a deep and cold water. I won't do that, but you can. But these are things that you can do to affect the vagus nerve. And there's a lot of research out there about the vagus nerve. I think we, again, always underestimate what things do in our body.
And like I love the cold water tip because what I've learned is if you turn your shower to cold for the last 20 seconds, it'll do a couple of things. It will stimulate the vagus nerve, but folks, it'll also make your hair look amazing. So my daughter is a hairdresser and she always highly recommends rinsing your hair with cold water because it makes it shinier and healthier and it prevents damage. Does the same exact thing to your vagus nerve. So turn the shower to cold for the last 20 seconds. I promise it's worth it. And you'll be awake.
Maybe. So the next question I'm going to ask, whoa, I clicked that too fast. Can the body adapt? I gave you the answer. Yes. So it's all about the nervous system and the body's ability to combat the daily physical, chemical, and emotional stresses that are placed on that body. So your body can heal, it can adapt. We just have to remove that interference. And it starts with healthy habits early. Some of the things that we see from time to time or day to day are just things that we're exposed to in the environment. And so, some of the things that you can do are to minimize the toxins. People are always thinking that toxins are like always like, sorry, there's a fire truck.
Yeah.
That toxins are like these big, like vats of like,
Oh,
uh,
like bubbly
yeah,
chemicals and
yeah,
things.
yeah. It's not. And so toxins come from things that we're exposed to daily. So whether it is our shampoos, whether it's the foods that we eat, things that we're dealing with day to day often overall weaken our immune system. And as we weaken our immune system, it can cause damage to our cells, to our tissues, making it harder for our body to fight off infections, and to recover from illnesses. If we're exposed to too many toxins, it can affect autoimmune diseases. Toxins can, I cannot talk today. Toxins can cause the immune system to attack healthy tissue, which can then lead to these autoimmune diseases. It also places you at a higher risk of cancer because it's suppressing the immune system's natural defense on invading foreign agents. It degrades the immune system barriers, such as in the gut that we talked about earlier. It can also affect your lungs and the blood brain barriers. Some examples of toxic chemicals would be pollutants that are in the air, metals, solvents, and Stephanie's favorite would be the endocrine disruptors.
So when you think about the products you use on your skin, cleaning your home, a lot of times these have artificial scents. They've got toxins in them. So air fresheners, perfumes, lotions, body washes,
Mm-hmm.
shampoos. We talked about the skin being the largest organ. The microbiome is probably the largest organ, but everything that goes through your skin gets into the microbiome. So it's coming to you through the things you put on your body and use around your body. So think about, like, would you feed your child floor cleaner? No. But if the baby's crawling on the floor, and what do babies do? Everything they touch goes in their mouth. And they're drooling, and like, just think about it. If you wouldn't lick your kitchen floor, you probably shouldn't clean with something that you don't want your child to ingest. So these are some of the things that we talk about. We talk about endocrine disruptors, that it's just these little tiny things that we can change one at a time. I'm not telling you to go purge everything in your home, but it's easy to just swap out one cleaner at a time.
Yeah, so when you're
Yep.
finished with one, you
Yep.
go buy a natural or a better option. And so we have great resources. One I'm going to plug here is called ewg.org. You can go to their website, you can put in your products that you use, put them into this website. It'll give you a grade of how they do. And if you find that they're very toxic, next time you go purchase something, find something that's better on that list. We use a lot of essential oils in
Mhm.
our home. We make a lot of our products too, using vinegar or alcohol,
Yeah.
water, and the essential oils to make them smell better. Um, Stephanie and I were just talking before the webinar too, would be like perfumes. People don't think about
Yeah.
like lotions and perfumes. Like she mentioned earlier that they have fragrances in them. Anything that says on the label fragrance, like stay away from it if you can, because it's not an essential oil. It's a chemical that makes
Yeah.
it smell better.
And if you're struggling with autoimmune, you probably know this already, that you've been instructed to reduce these artificial scents and chemicals, because it triggers a lot of inflammation in the nervous system. And we already know what inflammation does. So it's best just to get rid of it.
So, destruction through toxicity. There are 4 billion prescription drugs that are ingested in the US each year. You can read this too, but I'm going to kind of go through this. So, 70,000 chemicals are used commercially. 3,000 chemicals are added to our food supply each year. And by the way, the FDA does not need to let you know that they're doing this.
Yeah.
10,000 chemicals are used for food processing, preserving, and storage. The EPA estimates that our homes are now 5 to 100 times more toxic than the outdoor air. This comes from paints that we use, carpets, things that we're doing to build the homes. Like it's insane. There is a brominated flame retardant chemicals that are applied to clothing, which were banned in 2004, but they've been found in the bodies of newborn babies here in the US. And it came from like clothing. They used to
Yeah.
make it flame retardant. So that if your house caught on fire, your baby's clothing wouldn't. I mean,
Yeah.
there's stuff that we've made stupid decisions on in past decades that are still being leached into our systems today. Again, another talk for another day, but like we've done a toxicity workshop
Mhm.
and taught some of this as well. We've talked about nutrition just a little bit. We're going to go just a very like skim. We're just going to skim through nutrition. Again, we can do another talk on nutrition and what to do. This again isn't here to overwhelm you, but you want to eat healthy when you start looking at your foods. You want to eat low or lean proteins, healthy fats, complex carbs. Um, One of the things that we did for our family in the very beginning of changing our nutrition was making sure that we sourced the proteins that were healthy. So grass fed and grass finished are what you want to look for. If it says one and not the other, you may be exposing your body to chemical or commercially raised meats. Again, I'm not getting into this today, but I like if you have questions, I'll be more than happy to answer it. Some tips when you go to the grocery store, stock up to save money. So I love Trader Joe's. A lot of the times we'll go and buy like our staples there because they can be in the pantry and they're cheaper than buying them at some of our local grocery stores. One of the fun facts that we like to do is to shop the perimeter of the store. When you start looking at what's on the insides of the aisles, is going to be all of the inflammatory processes. So on the outside, you've got your produce, you have your meat department, you
Yep.
have your dairy department, and most of it, like obviously, that's where you can build most of your meals once you
Yeah.
start going down the aisles.
It's making food from food too. We don't
Correct.
need the processed garbage. We just need really good ingredients and, think seasoning, think flavor, think fresh. Like what makes a meal delicious when it tastes good
Hmm.
and it tastes good when it's fresh.
Hmm.
So,
You don't need anything that can last on a box or in a box for 10 years. It's not good for you.
no.
You also want to spot bargains on fresh fruits and vegetables. Shop locally where you can because you're going to support the local farmers who most likely aren't going to use all the pesticides that the big commercial companies would use. You want to compare labels. Again, look for deals at your farmers markets. We're going to talk about sleep very briefly, but sleep helps with a lot of different things. It helps with hormone reset, helps your muscles repair. A lot of people, when they start coming into chiropractic care, they start talking about they're able to sleep better. Their muscle aches and pains are improving because their body's able to repair them. Digestion improves, and that's because the chiropractic is helping take you out of that fight or flight, putting you back into that parasympathetic nervous system, which is helping you rest and digest. So we start to see ease in the gut. So less constipation, less diarrhea, body's functioning better. And then you're also assimilating or digesting those nutrients better. Do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, it's one of those things that when people are struggling, the first thing we usually see is they're like, and I can't sleep at night. So if you're not getting sleep, I mean, sleep deprivation is used as torture because
Mm-hmm.
it's effective. 3 days without sleep can create like hallucinations. It can create delirium. So if you're not getting enough sleep, you are literally putting your body under more stress.
Yeah.
So, if you are looking to be healthier, sleep is going to absolutely be a piece of this puzzle. And again, I'm not saying like you need to go home tonight and get 10 hours of sleep, but go to bed 5 minutes earlier for the next 5 days, then make it five more. Eventually, you'll woke yourself up to a decent amount of sleep. And if you're curious, most adults need 7 to 9 hours. Go to bed on a weekend. I know this is going to drive you crazy, but go to bed when you feel tired. Don't stay up. Go to bed and sleep. Don't use an alarm and note what time you go to bed. Sleep till you wake up and note what time you wake up. Ideally, those are the number of hours that your body needs to sleep, to feel well rested and heal and repair. So then you'll know, and then you can work your way up to it.
Right. And so another thing that you can do for your overall health and wellness is to exercise. And so some people think that exercise means that you have to be in the gym for 2 hours.
Nope, 30 minutes is good.
Yeah. And it can start in the very beginning with just 10 minutes and add time. Like Stephanie said, talking about with sleep, you add time
Yep.
when you start to exercise. Create like small habit changes, which will create bigger impacts in the future. And so we just gave you a couple of examples of exercise, but what exercise is doing is it's increasing the blood flow. It helps to boost your immunity. It increases the circulation, and so when you have increased circulation, your immune system is able to get the cells where they need to go to fight off infection. It releases cytokines and chemokines, which, when you exercise, your muscles release these signaling proteins, which help, again, fight off the infection. It reduces chronic stress. Which we mentioned earlier, stress can weaken your immune system.
Mhm.
When you exercise, it improves your sleep, which helps you recover better. It increases your bone density, which adds to decrease the odds of getting osteoporosis. Also, when you exercise, it increases your body temperature. And we learned earlier when
What?
you have increased body temperature, you lower your chances of infection. So it helps ward that off as well.
Huh. I've heard that before.
The other
It's good
thing we
stuff.
want to say is to get adjusted. We've also found that chiropractic patients were found to have 200% greater immune competence than people who don't get adjusted regularly. And so there's also been studies that have shown that people who get adjusted have a lower chance of getting serious diseases and cancer, because your body is able to respond quicker to those external threats that your immune system can fight off and ward off. But also, when your body is again functioning better, your immune system's functioning.
Yeah. What you're doing is you're just giving yourself the best possible defense mechanism against everything that's coming at you. And so if you're well rested, well nourished, well adjusted, you're going to be happier and healthier.
And
That's the bottom line.
yeah, one of the things too, like our parents like to start talking about, is how they've noticed, like, once their child began chiropractic care, not only just their child, but their family overall, didn't get sick as often. And so that's a major win in their book,
Mhm.
because if your child's sick, you lose time at work. When you lose time at work, you're not getting compensated that for pay. And so if we can help boost your body's natural immune system, like, it's a win-win overall. So we are going to challenge you. If you are not a chiropractic patient here at our office and you are interested in seeing how chiropractic can benefit you and your family, call our office so you can get your nervous system checked. We also want to challenge you to keep moving. As we mentioned in a previous
Yep.
slide, exercise is going to be better to help boost your immune system. So do a 10-minute exercise, ultimately 2 to 3 times a week, and then add additional time as you get better at it. Improve your nutrition. What we ultimately want you to do is to decrease your sugar intake and
Mhm.
decrease that inflammation that's happening in your body. And we didn't really discuss the supplements, but if you have questions about supplements that can support your immune system, we are always here for you.
Yeah. Let us know if you guys have questions. We're always here to answer them. We love to do these webinars and these talks. If there's a topic that you would like to know more about, let us know. We would be happy to put something together.
Yeah.
And if you want to sit down and do a consultation on what it looks like to get more movement in your life, or what better nutrition could look like, or what kind of supplementation you'd be interested in, or could benefit you specifically, reach out to the office, because we'd be happy to sit down with you one on one and go through that.
So we're here for you guys. We want to thank you for spending the last 45 minutes or so watching this webinar.
Yeah.
If you have questions, let us know. We'd love to help.
All right, guys. Bye.
Thank you.